All right, week 3, Tuesday of the 16-week program. Today, speed work. We're looking at 2 repeats of 2 kilometers of work, so 4 kilometers in total at 4:15 pace. Last week I did 3 times 1k repeats at this pace and it killed me. My fitness is up. I think my health is a little bit further back. Clearly not 100%, but a bit better. And hopefully this morning I can delay some fatigue. I've had plenty of caffeine and pre-workout to help with that. It's not early morning. I got my sleep in still. Detoured to the track on the way to work. Normally for a workout like this, I would be wearing my Vaporfly 3s. Today I'm not. I am going to wear my Super Blasts. I've not worn Super Blasts for a speed workout before. I just wanted to test it out and see if I feel a little bit better doing it, but we're just going to get it today and hopefully feel really good. It's now Friday, end of week 3 of the program, and just as I'm demonstrating that we're looking at how do we train for this marathon, giving a fair bit of dedication to it, but also balancing work, balancing family life, and just making sure I'm not being too selfish, I suppose. It's a little bit later than I'd like it to be. It's 6:53 right now. I've got a 9k easy run, which means 2 things. 1, my family's probably going to wake up in the middle of this, and it means I'm not around, especially if my son's woken up. And 2, I'm looking at I got out this late because I ended up in my son's bed again. So at the moment we're in the middle of just trying to keep him in his bed all night long and encouraging that. So that's our objective at the moment. It's our struggle. So this is the life of being a dad. It's Sunday. I haven't actually done the long run for week 3 yet. 17 kilometers with a little bit of a pickup in the middle of it all for 7.5 Ks. But just as this series is meant to be documenting how I balance this with life's just gotten in a little bit of the way. We had a late night Friday night, prioritised sleep, couldn't make it happen during the day on Saturday, and then considered doing it this morning, which would have been doing it about 5 a.m, but I had a lot of trouble sleeping last night and knew that I could just make some other compromises. It's not how I wanted any week to go, but here we are. It's now Sunday afternoon after church, and I'm going to make it happen. And it is a compromise. It's, I suppose, putting my family out a little bit, just chilling out in the afternoon, so I'm going to do this and tick off this run. And then week 4 is a deload week, so I know I'm not going to have to deal with this too much next week, so which is really good. Weapons for today, we've got the ASIC Super Blast 2. Ka-chow. What a run. 17 kilometers done. Halfway through it, I definitely think I was ready to pull out. It's windy, rainy. I'm really glad that I pushed through. Just needed to redirect my route. I was literally running uphill into some wind and running too slow, but changed course. The run was 5Ks at easy pace. Then I was doing 7.5 kilometers at a 5-minute kilometer pace, and then 4.5K to finish. And I can tell you, it took me about 2 or 3 kilometers in that working effort to feel all right. But by the end, it felt pretty good and easy. It's a Sunday. Ideally, I'm not doing it on a Sunday. And I don't want to do that moving forward, but glad going into a deload week where it's actually about rest and recovery and spending time with this guy. Boo. Welcome to another week of couch time. Every single episode
we want to sit down and just run through a review of what the week looked like again. And I also want to take an opportunity to talk about the things that I'm learning or things that I've been doing as a runner, things I want to share with other people who might be getting into a running journey, whether you are like me, young, dad, someone who's been out of fitness, sport, or whatever it might be for a really long time and looking for ways of motivation and ease in getting back into sport or some type of fitness. And that's certainly something that I want to contribute to other people's lives if they want to take interest into it. But here on Couch Time, we simply want to have a chat, hang out, and run through what the week has been looking like with this marathon training. It is my first time going through a marathon training block. It is 16 weeks in total. Might sound excessive for some people, but as it was my first time, I know that there was plenty of mileage that I need to build up and a lot for me to learn throughout the process. So, being week 3, let's run through together what this looked like. Okay, so it's the week of the 7th of July to the 13th, and we covered 47 kilometres in total. So we are building. Now, what this week looked like, on the Monday, 8 kilometres easy, covered that very nicely. Tuesday, we had 2 kilometre tempo repeats. That is 2 times 2 kilometre repeats at a tempo pace. And jumping into the details of that workout, we completed this at the track, and that's always the goal with my Tuesday speed work, is that we'll do it at the track. I actually used, rather than using my Vaporflies, I used my Super Blast. And what this looked like in terms of the goal, it was to hold a 4-minute 15 kilometre pace. And we had 120 seconds rest in between the two. How did we go with that? Well, overall, okay. We've got some variance, 10 seconds either side of that. So we did hit the paces, but only just within the higher end, just under 4:25 for both of those intervals. So that's good to get into that. Then we followed that up by a Thursday session, 6 kilometre recovery run completed on the treadmill. Sucks running on a treadmill. Followed by a 9k easy run, so jumping up on the pace there a little bit. You see on the 6k recovery run at a 6:31 pace, then jumping into the easy run at 5:49. And that's something that I want to make really deliberate throughout my program, is that I will do recovery runs at a slower pace and then easy runs at a faster pace. And then we had a key session. This was Saturday's long run, and it was tough. The weather conditions were not fantastic for this one, but the goal was to warm up for 5k, 7.5k at a 5-minute kilometre pace. We got through it, but I definitely thought I was going to quit in the middle of that. And that feeling is, I suppose, something that needs to be developed in terms of mental toughness, particularly with the marathon. Though it's my first time racing the marathon, I have run 42 kilometres before, and it was tragic in the sense of putting yourself in the hurt locker physically and mentally. Thought that I could run it in 4 hours just casually, but it did take 4 hours 20 something of running time and about 4 hours 50 in total. That was a very humbling experience, but something I wanted to tick off before the end of last year. But I was running into the wind at the beginning of the working effort, and I was really struggling with that to a point where I was prepared to just call it quits. The weather was that bad. But finishing the workout, I'm so glad that I didn't. I literally just changed direction and moved along. So the average pace, the goal was a 5-minute kilometre pace, actually ran at 4-minute 58, which is fantastic. That's what we want. And I did find that quite comfortable, which was good. So seeing the splits starting off in the high fives and then just moving down, and had a really good 7.5K block, and then finished off the run, which is really good. So that capped off the week of running, week 3, and with week 4, we now move into a deload week where there's a little bit less intensity, but a lot less mileage altogether. So good to just see the progress so far, still moving on from sickness, not just for me, but within our household. So being the middle of winter, just trying to get through that at the moment. That's one of the main challenges right now for us as a family. But I suppose apart from running, it's something that I wanted to share a little bit about very quickly with some of the accessories that I use whilst running and things that I find really helpful for me. So few quick tips. I suppose when I started my running journey back in 2022, I began by using a Series 2 Apple Watch. Had a lot of limitations, but that was just what I had used for exercise and not for much else. I wasn't using it really as a watch at all, just for the training element. But it got to a point where I really wanted to program my own workouts into the watch and have them loaded so that I could do things like see the average paces and heart rate and all these things being specific with what was coming up on the watch face. So when I wanted to do that, I did upgrade to the Series 8 Apple Watch, which allowed me to program workouts, which was really good and really handy. Really enjoyed doing that, and I encourage anyone who likes to train and get into running, being able to program some things into a watch is a very fun thing to do, and the newer watches allow you to do that. I do pair that with a couple of things here. I suppose another notable one, which I picked up at the end of 2022, was the Whoop strap. I started wearing this in the wrist version. I had the Whoop for just over 2 years. I got, I think, 2 years and 1 month, or 2 years and 2 months out of it. But really enjoyed that because that, I suppose, being in 2022 when I got it, it was when my son was first born, and what it told me was that I was just not sleeping enough all the time. At this point in my life, I wasn't exercising, but there got to a point where by wearing the Whoop and getting constant feedback about my health and behaviours, I was motivated to do something about that and want to improve my fitness and health. So I'm very grateful for this device and the programming that's been put behind this. And it helped to begin part of my fitness journey over the last couple of years. I paired that, like using a Whoop and using the Apple Watch, just two things on the wrist, and got to a point where I didn't enjoy that, but I also learnt that it's probably not ideal to rely on heart rate monitoring from a wrist. So then I got the bicep version after about 12 months, and I noticed immediately the analytics changed. So it's quite obvious then that recording from the wrist is not the most accurate thing, and moving it up onto the bicep or a chest strap is ideal. I did get to a point where I was about 18 months into this membership, and honestly, it wasn't doing much more for me anymore. I got what I needed out of it, and I was sick of wearing it, and it died of battery at one point, and I just decided I wasn't going to recharge it. After a few months, I figured I've only got a few months left with the membership, better get the most out of it, so I wore it again. And I actually just really look forward to it to ending. I know I could have just taken it off, but I felt like I should have made the most of it. So it's not something that I use anymore. I think it's a great tool, but I've moved on from that. I got the feedback that I desired. Would I ever use it again? I don't think that I would. And I've heard a number of people say that they got what they needed out of it and have moved on. Because with other devices, you're going to get a lot of similar feedback. One of the key accessories that I got at the end of 2023, this is one of the more important ones to me, is my Polar H10 heart rate chest strap. As I mentioned, learned that using the wrist is not the best place for you to be recording your heart rate. And when I was getting into this fitness journey and running more particularly, I really wanted to focus on low heart rate training. So as a gift, I did get one of these. It was ticked off as a Christmas present, and it's something that I have worn on, I want to say, at least 95% of my runs, probably more, like 99%. Pretty much got this on every time that I'm running. I have had the device replaced under warranty once, and it seems to be doing fine for me at the moment, but I did get the Polar at the time because I knew that it would be reliable. I'm sure the Garmin is just as reliable as well, and I would happily pick that up if I needed to as well. But this is something that is key to me personally, because I'm not ultimately relying on sticking into a particular heart rate, but I am using it as a tool to tell me how my fitness is changing. So if I am running faster and my heart rate is lower, it is indicative of how my fitness has moved along, and I have seen that over the last 18 months, coming up 2 years since I got it. Now, since I've had the Whoop strap and the Apple Watch, only very recently have I made a decision that I wanted a proper running watch, particularly because the Apple Watch was getting a bit old and cracked. And I got myself the Garmin Forerunner 965. I considered getting the 955, but I was convinced AMOLED screen is just brilliant. I love it. And I think that anyone who's looking at a watch, anyone who is looking at a watch with running metrics, it's a fantastic watch. And I wear this 24/7. I did not wear my Apple Watch 24/7. I do wear a normal watch, but for this marathon training block, I did decide I was going to wear this full time. I take it off for the shower, and that's about it. And just taking full advantage of the metrics that it's feeding back to me. And I'm loving it so far. I think it's a fantastic watch. They're just a couple of the accessories, only a couple more here. I do use a running belt. I just had a standard one to hold my phone so that I have my phone with me at all times, and recently got the Nerd belt. This does hold the phone. It does have a couple of bottles that comes with it and places for it. I do wish it was easier to put gels in and the phone into this. It's not quite the case, but nonetheless, it's a good one. Will I run marathon day with it? I have no idea. I'll be using it throughout my long runs, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'll have to plan out the drink stations on the map. And then another accessory, probably the last one I'll comment on, which I actually think is super important, is just some gloves. Whilst that might sound a little bit tacky, I actually think this is one of the more important accessories that I have, because winter running with cold hands, when you've got cold hands and they're feeling brittle, I feel like the rest of my body feels brittle. It does also mean that if you've got cold hands, you are decreasing your blood flow. I believe that's true. So by having warm hands, I physically feel different, and am far happier being out in the cold. So anything that is, whenever it's under 10 degrees, like it is pretty much every morning throughout the winter, 10 degrees Celsius, I'm wearing these gloves, and they're helping me to just feel fresher, feel warmer, and I'm moving a whole lot better. So these are some of the accessories that I have used and am using as part of my training program, and maybe that helps you with considering some things that might help you. Really low cost things like these gloves, super, super helpful, because I think the reality is you need to stay warm. And that's something that I'm learning heaps even at the moment with running in the winter. I don't need to strip right down. It's best to have some layers on so that you remain comfortable and looking after your muscles and having the blood flowing properly. So I suppose that's it for couch time. We'll look forward to week 4 of 16, a deload week, and we'll be right back here on the couch next week for the next episode. Thanks for joining.